Only on Eyewitness News.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. President Reagan and his aides had another explanation today for their arms to the Ayatollah deal. This time, they said perhaps $30 million in money from the secret sale was laundered through Swiss banks, then sent to Contra rebels in Central America. This may have been illegal. President Reagan says he was not informed, didn't know all that was going on. He forced 2 White House military men out. Congress was filled with charges of scapegoating and a cover-up. Our coverage of today's bizarre White House story begins with Bill Plant.
A tense and angry Ronald Reagan announced the resignation of his national security advisor, Vice Admiral John Poindexter, and the firing of NSC staff member Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. No surprise in light of the continuing White House credibility problems. But in a bizarre twist at which he only hinted, Mr. Reagan said there was a part of the Iran deal he hadn't known about.
I was not fully informed on the nature of one of the activities undertaken in connection with this initiative. This action raises serious questions of propriety.
Did you make a mistake in sending arms to Tehran, sir?
No, and I'm not taking any more questions.
The president then left it to Attorney General Meese to drop the bombshell.
Certain monies which were received in the transaction between representatives of Israel and representatives of Iran were taken and made available to the forces in Central America which are opposing the Sandinista government there.
Meese insisted the scheme was known only to North, Poindexter, and later to former National Security Advisor Robert McFarlane.
The people who were involved in the situation didn't tell anybody, including the president. So it's common understanding why the president wouldn't know, because no one in the chain of command was informed.
Another issue on top of today's revelations, the serious split between Secretary of State George Shultz and the White House. The president declined again today to give Shultz a vote of confidence, and Meese seemed to be sending Shultz a message.
That I think anyone who is a member of the president's staff or the president's cabinet has an obligation either to support the policy decisions of the president or to get out.
If there are more steps to be taken, he'll take them. He took these immediately. He found out last night and it was done this morning.
For some, the implications were personal.
It's the country's loss and our family's gain at this point. We'll have a husband at home again.
But others see broader questions, the president's lack of knowledge and what that may mean.
Well, if the president didn't know something as profoundly consequential as this, then something as profoundly wrong.
The big question that faces us tonight, beyond Iran, is whether Reagan can continue to govern effectively over the next 2 years. We don't know the answer to that question.
Administration insiders fear there are more potentially embarrassing revelations to come. For instance, CBS News has been told that the White House believes some CIA agents, though not Director Casey, were aware of Oliver North's diversion of funds to the Contras. Dan?
Thank you, Bill. CBS News Pentagon correspondent David Martin looks into the newly exposed double dealing with Iran and traces the route of the missile dollar pipeline.
We don't know the exact amount yet. Our estimate is that it is somewhere between $10 and $30 million.
The money was paid by Iran for U.S. weapons, but it went to the Contras fighting in Nicaragua. As Meese described it, here is how the deal worked. Beginning in January of this year, Iran paid Israeli arms dealers for shipments of American weapons. The Israelis deposited the money in Swiss bank accounts. The CIA withdrew $12 million and turned it over to the Pentagon as payment for the weapons. The rest went to the Contras. The Pentagon was paid $12 million because that is what it had cost the Army to buy the weapons years ago. Iran was charged a much higher price by the arms dealers based on the cost of those same weapons today.
The difference between the money owed to the United States government and the money received from representatives of Iran was then deposited in bank accounts which were under the control of representatives of the forces in Central America.
Late tonight, a spokesman for Israeli Prime Minister Shamir acknowledged that Israel funneled the money to a Swiss bank account, but was shocked and surprised to learn that some of the funds went to the Contras. A top Contra official claimed not to know anything about it.
I have always assumed that it comes from private sources. That's what I understand. And I know absolutely of no connection between Iran or Israel or nothing else.
The Contras reportedly thought the money was coming from Saudi Arabia via retired Air Force General Richard Secord, who at the time was serving as a Pentagon consultant. In May, Secord reportedly accompanied former National Security Advisor Robert McFarlane and Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North on one of the flights carrying U.S. arms to Iran. CBS News has been told the Justice Department is looking into another deal reportedly involving Secord and the Contras. An attorney from Mall Air, which makes these short takeoff and landing planes, said he has been contacted by the Justice Department about news reports Secord helped purchase 4 of these planes for the Contras.
All these transactions occurred at a time when Congress had barred the Reagan administration from providing anything other than $27 million in humanitarian aid to the Contras. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
CBS News Capitol Hill correspondent Phil Jones has the first reactions from Congress tonight to the latest disclosures of secret deals and possible lawbreaking.
There was something different about the congressional reaction to today's bombshell disclosures. One could detect a sense of fear from members of both parties for the damage done to the nation, to Ronald Reagan, and to the presidency itself.
My sense this morning was it's a new ball game, and the president senses he needs all the friends that he can get.
We must, all of us, help the president restore credibility in American foreign policy. We have no other choice. We cannot have a crippled president for the next 2 years.
Outgoing Speaker O'Neill issued a statement calling it a tragedy for the nation when the credibility of the president is so damaged that it hampers his ability to effectively conduct domestic and foreign policies.
There's something wrong when the president does not know what's going on in the basement of the White House.
Senator Glenn announced his intention to investigate an out-of-control National Security Council.
It's a picture of a National Security Council that is becoming nothing less than a rogue elephant trampling over the laws of this nation on its rampage through the jungles of Nicaragua.
Besides the policy itself, Congress will now focus on whether laws were broken, specifically the Bolin Amendment, barring funds for direct or indirect military operations in Nicaragua, and the arms export law, requiring congressional approval of major arms sales or transfers. Also in trouble, additional aid to the Nicaraguan Contra rebels.
I don't know who knew what was going on, but I'll bet you that it's going to be a cold day in Washington, D.C. before any more money goes into Nicaragua.
Congressional Republicans are both furious and devastated by this White House blunder, but many of them are not surprised. For some were predicting long before this that arrogance within the Reagan administration on foreign policy and defense matters could well lead to a major scandal. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
When we come back, more of this still unfolding and still untold story of foreign policy disarray and what the president did or didn't know. And we'll talk to the United States Attorney General Edwin Meese about what he knows.
The longer, newly styled 1987 Cadillac DeVille. It's capable of delivering more than luxury. With its available anti-lock braking system, today's technology is employed to enhance driver control. From four-wheel independent suspension to the traction of front-wheel drive, DeVille inspires confidence, as does its new longer warranty. Yet it always reminds you of why you chose Cadillac in the first place. DeVille, the contemporary spirit of Cadillac.
The age of battery flashlights is over. The first alert. Rechargeable flashlight. The powerful flashlight that never needs batteries. The first alert. Rechargeable flashlight.
Looks don't mean everything, unless you're talking about prunes. Now, doesn't this pitted prune look delicious? That's because it's rounder and plumper. And that means it's a Sunsweet prune. Come here, delicious.
When the Iran foreign policy fallout exploded in a whole new situation over the secret Contra connection today, first details of it came from U.S. Attorney General Edwin Meese. The Attorney General joins us now from Washington. Mr. Meese, can you assure the nation that we have seen the last of the embarrassing disclosures?
Well, Mr. Rather, the President has directed that we pursue a continuing investigation to make sure that we do get all the facts. I think it's important to remember that it was the President who wanted to be sure that the public and the Congress had full information as soon as we knew that there might be something wrong, and so that's the reason why we provided some preliminary information today. But we will continue until we do know that we have all the facts.
Somebody's committed a crime here, have they not?
Well, that's what we're analyzing at the present time. The laws that relate to these particular transactions are fairly complex, and it's a matter of analyzing the laws in relation to what specific acts were done by particular people, and that, of course, will take a certain amount of continuing investigation.
Mr. Meese, the president's in a real bind here, isn't he? Is it or is it not true, as those in Congress have been saying, either he didn't know and he should have known, or he known and he's stonewalling now?
Well, I don't think that the president is in a bind because of the way in which he's handling this matter. No one can know everything that goes on in a government this large, and when some people do things that are wrong and that are not properly authorized, then it is important that those things be found out. The president set in motion the machinery to find those things out. As soon as the facts were discovered, he is the one that went forward and said this must be made known to the American people and to the Congress. So I would say he's in the lead on this thing to make sure, first of all, that all the facts come out, and secondly, he's already taken remedial action, both in terms of personnel changes and in appointing, in the process of appointing a small board which will look into the procedures and the role of the National Security Council staff to make sure that this kind of thing can't happen again.
Mr. Meese, it was suggested on this broadcast at one point that you were trying to send Secretary of State Schultz a message today. Do you expect him to be Secretary of State, say, 3 months from now?
I was not trying to send Secretary Schultz or anybody else a message. Somebody asked me a question about the role of the cabinet, and I replied what my view is. Beyond that, I would have no knowledge about any member of the cabinet and wouldn't comment on it.
Mr. Meese, as part of the secret diplomatic initiative, were the Saudis urged to go along with Iran's oil pricing policy in OPEC, which in effect raised oil prices?
Well, Mr. Rather, I have no knowledge of that, and so far no element of that has come into our inquiries.
No element of it has come into your inquiries?
That's correct.
Bill Plant reported tonight that there are several sources telling him that CIA agents, not necessarily Director Casey, but CIA agents did know what Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North was doing. Does that match your information?
Well, Mr. Rather, I'm not going beyond the information that was provided earlier today, because our inquiry is still continuing, and I wouldn't want to make any definite statements until we have more information. There are a lot of people yet to interview. There's a lot of evidence yet to be combed through, and we will make additional information available when we have gotten farther along in our investigation.
Mr. Meese, you've been around a long time. In your personal opinion, is it possible for all of this to have happened and only one man, Colonel North, to have known about it?
Well, there may be other people that were working with him that did have information. This is, again, one of the things that we want to look into. This morning, it was important to make the facts known at this particular point in time to the American people and to the Congress, and that was done. By no means was this an exhaustive explanation of all of the details. That's why we're continuing with a very detailed investigation so that all the facts will be known, and then these questions can be answered.
Thank you very much, Attorney General Edwin Meese.
Thank you.
When we come back, more about arms for Iran, cash for the Contras. Was it ethical? Was it legal? Was it criminal?
Mention decaffeinated coffee to a lot of coffee drinkers, and this can happen. To them, decaffeinated just doesn't have enough flavor, enough aroma. But now there's new Brim. It's aroma blended to give you a rich aroma, a full-bodied flavor. So for some people, it's new Brim or nothing.
Brim?
Brim?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Brim?
What do you think?
Fill it to the rim with new Brim.
Well, since I like to cook, there's lots to do every day.
And my Oster Kitchen Center will help me out in every way. Bow, bow, wow.
Help me, Oster, help me, Oster. Help me, Oster, help me, Oster. Help me, Oster, help me, Oster. Help me, Oster, yeah. Help me every day.
Secretary of State George Shultz is among those who, in effect, forced the White House to tell more about the strange Iran deal than the president and his aides wanted to. Bill McLaughlin reports this evening on The View from the State Department.
Secretary of State George Shultz emerged from today's turmoil as the clear winner. Just days after, CBS News has learned, he submitted his resignation. It was not accepted, but it remains on the president's desk. Tonight, Shultz seemed to put his resignation aside.
The president has set out our objectives.
And I fully subscribe to them and support them, and intend to be very much a part of the effort to bring them to fruition.
Schultz's spokesman left no question as to who would oversee U.S. policy toward Iran.
The President now intends that the management and implementation of that policy be handled in normal channels. In short, that means under the direction of the Secretary in the Department of State.
What that means is that Schultz is now the President's chief advisor on Iran, and the National Security Council has closed down its covert operation. The Defense Department, CIA, and NSC will follow the State Department's lead on Iran. Most importantly, it means Schultz will make sure there are no more secret shipments of arms to Iran or anyone else in exchange for hostages. Schultz's split with the White House became clear 10 days ago when he openly opposed arms shipments to Iran. Sources say that angered President Reagan, and critics called for Schultz's ouster. Deputy Secretary of State John Whitehead further angered advisors when he disagreed with the President's assessment of Iran's support for terrorism. But others, including former President Richard Nixon, counseled Mr. Reagan that he needed Schultz to salvage his foreign policy.
What we now have to do is to get that story concluded and face the future and recognize that our basic foreign policy position is strong. But we have now to direct it towards reasonable objectives.
The Western allies, moderate Arab states, and the Soviet Union are all convinced that they have been consistently lied to by the U.S. government on the Iranian issue. Clearly, George Shultz's first objective is to make American foreign policy believable again. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, the State Department.
CBS News correspondent Rita Braver reports now on the startup of investigations into secret arms shipments to Iran, secret cash for the Contras, who did it, and did they break the law?
Justice Department sources say that Attorney General Edwin Meese today conferred by telephone with FBI Director Webster, and the FBI will soon begin investigating the affair. At issue, whether former White House insiders, including National Security Advisors Robert McFarlane and John Poindexter, and NSC operative Oliver North, broke the law by secretly trading arms to Iran and sending the profits to the Contras. The President has ordered a full Justice Department probe, including a special commission to investigate the operation of the National Security Council. Details of how the inquiries will work are still being decided.
We are presently looking into the legal aspects of it as to whether there's any criminality involved.
But Democrats on the House Judiciary and the Senate Intelligence Committees are demanding that the investigation be taken out of the Justice Department and handed over to a Watergate-type independent prosecutor.
But we are concerned about the integrity of an investigation when basically the fox investigates the chicken coop while he's watching it at the same time.
A special prosecutor can tell the president if he's been lied to. A special prosecutor can tell the Congress if they've been lied to. A special prosecutor can tell the American people if there have been lies.
Legal experts say it's possible that some former NSC officials could be prosecuted, but they say the administration has an even broader legal dilemma, explaining to the American public how such a rogue operation could ever have existed at the White House. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
Peanuts! Get your fresh roasted peanuts!
Harry, wait for your sister! You might miss some!
Remember getting Planters nuts fresh from the roaster?
Oh, the ones with Mr. Peanut!
Just one whiff, and you couldn't resist them.
Told ya.
Well, today there's a snack that's just as irresistible. Planters Honey Roasted Nuts. They're sweet enough to please and just salty enough to tease. Planters Honey Roasted Nuts. Mr. Peanut does it again.
All roads lead to Sears' biggest automotive sale of the year. Save 30% on Sears' best-selling tire, the Road Handler 45 Radio. Made by Michelin and backed by Sears. Now as low as $44.99, only at Sears. And get superb performance with the Sears Heavy-Duty Gas Shock. At $9.99, its price has never been lower. But hurry, this sale is on now.
There's more for your life.
We installed confidence.
At Sears.
One of several and sometimes conflicting official stories told about how the Arms for Iran deal got started is that President Reagan was trying to free hostages. CBS News correspondent Bob Schieffer reports newly learned details about the brutal torture and murder of one hostage.
When the U.S. Embassy in Beirut was bombed in 1983, all of the American CIA agents stationed in Lebanon were killed. Acting under the cover of being a diplomat, Buckley, an agent himself, was sent in to start a new CIA station, a job right up his alley. An expert on the region and on counterterrorism, it was Buckley who had been sent to Egypt earlier to train Anwar Sadat's bodyguards in anti-terrorist tactics. Once on the mean streets of Beirut, his real identity was soon learned, apparently. Within a year, March 1984, he had been kidnapped. From then until last year, when his captors made the gruesome claim he had been executed, authorities believe he was tortured and mistreated, and in the process forced to give up crucial secrets about intelligence contacts and U.S. counterterrorism tactics. For example, in the hijacking of this Kuwaiti airliner, and later the infamous capture of TWA Flight 847, sources say information that may have been forced from Buckley could have been instrumental in helping terrorists who always seem to be one step ahead of U.S. anti-terrorist measures. Buckley was one of the first Americans taken hostage in Lebanon. Ironically, sources now say it was his death that led the president to redouble efforts to free all the hostages, an operation the administration is now trying to untangle. Dan.
Thank you, Bob. President Aquino's Philippines government appears within striking distance tonight of another major achievement, a ceasefire that could end 17 years of warfare with communist rebels. More in Manila from CBS News correspondent Barry Peterson.
Mrs. Aquino remains optimistic. Not yet, but it is the closest her country has been to a ceasefire in the 17-year battle with communist insurgents. After 8 hours of talks, close, but not yet.
We have achieved substantial progress, and we are nearing an agreement.
But was he optimistic enough to expect it this week?
Yes.
Ferdinand Marcos tried to beat the communists in the field, and it just got worse. Mrs. Aquino offered to meet them at the peace table. But over the weekend, she toughened her stand, demanding a ceasefire by the end of the month, or it's all-out war. And she fired Defense Minister Enrile, who had opposed the talks, clearing away a major obstacle. There is hope a ceasefire could begin next month, then come talks for a permanent truce. But the communists may want something Mrs. Aquino is not willing to give, a sharing of the power she considers her own. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Manila.
Pope John Paul is in Sydney tonight, but earlier in Brisbane he came face-to-face with Australia's living national symbol. The Pope carefully cradled 2-year-old Simon the koala in his arms and strolled for photographers. It is not known what was discussed.
Everyone needs a little adventure in their life. So why not enter the Great Stanley Tool Adventure? You could win a Chevy S10 Blazer to get you away from it all. A Mercury-powered Larson boat to put you in the middle of nature. And $1,000 in Stanley tools to help you do things right. Thanks. The Blazer, the boat, the motor, the tools, you could win it all in the Great Stanley Adventure.
I think this dock needs a little more work.
I got a lot of Stanley tools.
Share your love of liberty by giving the gift of liberty. United States Liberty Coins. U.S. Liberty Coins can still be purchased at banks, savings and loans, and most Sears stores. What better way to share your love of liberty than to give it?
This is where we make the new 3M surgical clipper by Remington. Hospitals are now using this advanced product, replacing blades, to shave patients for surgery safely and comfortably. You can also benefit from Remington's advanced technology. This charger stand keeps the Remington microscreen rechargeable continually charged. It never needs a cord, and it shaves as close as a blade, or your money back. And the Lady Remington rechargeable also shaves without a cord. Advanced shaving technology, only from Remington.
The Labor Department today said consumer prices rose only 0.2% for the month of October. Finally, as we approach Thanksgiving, a story about a third-generation American farm family finding a different kind of trouble on the land. CBS News reporter Gary Reeves explains what Thanksgiving will mean to a farmer who went to jail.
Doris Cruz has had to run her family's farm alone for the last 2 months. Her husband is in jail, accused of hiding his $20,000 tractor from the federal land bank officials who want to seize it to cover his debts. Cruz says he doesn't know where the tractor is because it was stolen.
There isn't a tractor in the world that's worth sitting in jail for 2 months.
But the local farmers have sided with Cruz against the federal land bank. Yesterday they held a rally for him. Last week they harvested his crops.
He's got a reputation of being a pretty honest guy around this part of the country.
The Cruzes say they did not report the theft because at first they thought the bank had repossessed their tractor. But the bank claims Dwayne Cruz is hiding it, and he spent 62 days in jail for contempt for not telling where it is. Federal land bank officials refuse to talk on camera about Dwayne Cruz, but they say they have good reason to believe he was lying when he says he doesn't know what happened to the missing tractor. The most damaging evidence is the fact that Cruz admits to leaving other equipment with friends to make it hard for the bank to find. But he says the tractor really was stolen, and in this part of the country, a man's word is usually enough.
I think all the farmers are pretty scared that what's happening here could happen to them too.
In a court hearing tomorrow, the federal land bank will ask that Cruz be released, so Mrs. Cruz may not have to spend Thanksgiving alone. But considering the problems on their farm, Dwayne Cruz's freedom may be one of the few things they have to be thankful for. Gary Reeves, CBS News, Mount Carroll, Illinois.
Recapping our top story, the strange, tumultuous day at the White House. 2 of President Reagan's assistants lost their jobs. Millions of dollars from secret arms sales to Iran reportedly made their way through Swiss banks to the Contra camps in Central America. And now the familiar questions. What did the president know? When did he know it? Was any of this legal? How could it have happened? Why was it allowed to have happened? We'll have more on turmoil at the White House tonight on our CBS News special report beginning at 8 o'clock, 7 Central Time. Until then, Dan Rather, thank you for joining us.
Staying fit takes 2 kinds of exercise. Exercise for your outside and exercise for your inside with Kellogg's Bran Flakes. Kellogg's Bran Flakes are loaded with fiber to exercise your insides as only fiber can. Plus, Kellogg's is the only Bran Flakes that gives you a full day's supply of iron in each delicious bowlful. So if you plan to stay fit, don't just go halfway. Get Kellogg's Bran Flakes. They help keep you fit inside.
Tell all the world.
The Made in the USA label. It matters so much because of what it really stands for.
Tell all the world.
It stands for the quality of the clothes we work in.
And the style and fashions we play in.
And it stands for America, for what we are today.
And what we'll be tomorrow.
Tell all the world.
So ask for and buy apparel and home fashion that say, Made in the USA.
Tell all the world, America matters, America matters to you.
This little movement reflects pure genius. The genius of the Minolta AF Tele camera. The genius of the very first autofocus auto everything compact to build in 2 lenses, 1 standard, 1 telephoto, motorized at the flip of a switch. Minolta AF Tele gives you brilliant 35mm pictures of someone close or even closer. Meet the creative choice. Minolta AF Tele.
Only from the mind of Minolta.
Stunning new revelations in the Iran arms deal scandal. Who's responsible and how could it happen? The White House in turmoil. A CBS News special report tonight. This is CBS.